Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Government Structure Committee meeting of the Los Angeles City Charter Reform Commission. So excited that you're here with us today as we continue with our deliberations for service committee. I'm going to start with some housekeeping and taking roll. The chair is present, Commissioner Fuentes. Present. Commissioner Mack. Present. Perfect. We do have a quorum. 100% attendance, if you ask me. We're now going to move on to approval of the meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve? Any opposition? Seeing no opposition, the meeting minutes are approved. We're going to begin with public comment. Please note we will have remote public comment today, but we're going to start with in-person public comment. If you do need translation services, it's accessible in the back of the room. Please feel free to hand there if necessary. But yes, I'll leave it to staff now to facilitate public comment.
Fantastic, we're already in the list. This is a one item meeting, so one item plus general public comment will be up to 2 minutes of public comment. I will call people up 3 at a time. We only have 4, so I'll call everybody up. And I'll ask you to tell me how long you would like to speak. And I will also give you a 30-second warning on your time being up. So we have signed up is Ross, Marcella, Chris, and Mike. Ross, Marcella, Chris, and Mike in that order. Also just camera for you. Oh. There we go. Oops, there. Alrighty, Ross, how long would you like?
2 minutes, please.
2 minutes. Okay. Standing.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Ross White-Schoffer, representative of Fair Rep LA Coalition, and I wanted to uplift recommendation that's in the staff report that was added back in the last minute, precisely because I believe that it is so important, and most importantly, it represents an important recommendation for all members of the Fair Rep LA Coalition. And to continue this brief story, you might recognize me because I am here at almost every meeting. But I was not here yesterday, and that was because I was giving a presentation to a nonprofit in New York City called YVO, which serves New York youth and fosters civic engagement. And the presentation I gave to them was about how to communicate to build trust in their communities and how they could use that skill to become change makers in their communities. But after the presentation, I heard that this really resonated with the young people because they felt that they needed to build trust with adults. And the words that I literally hear them say to me is, I'm 16, I can't even vote. Why and how can I get involved in my community when adults don't trust me with the right to vote? So I am here because that is simply so important, and that is something that all Fair Rep LA members believe in, but also because I think this goes back to the question of why am I here at almost every single meeting? Why am I so civically engaged? And I think it goes back to when I was in high school. I started my own election judgment program in the state of Colorado that allowed those young people under 18 to register to vote, to get involved. It is simply a reality that it takes time, practice, and trust to get involved in our local democracy. And that is precisely why we need to allow young people the opportunity to show that they are trusted to be members of our Los Angeles democracy. I ask that you highlight this recommendation in the staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, 2 minutes. All right, Marcella. 1 or 2 minutes. All righty, and
good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you again for allowing us to do public comment, and to the staff for their great work. Again, my name is Marcela Miranda Prieto. I'm the ED at Cal RCD, and I just want to reiterate what Cal RCD stands and what it's recommending the Commission once again. We are recommending 3-seat districts for proportional ranked choice voting. We believe upon doing the studies and doing some data analysis, that across every model we examined, from 7 to 15 districts, 3-seat districts, equivalent to city councils of 45, 39, 33, 27, and 21. We saw that New York City consistently produces substantially better representation than the current system that we have. We saw that PRC also, is going to produce better outcomes for representation and getting more voices out there from the voters' perspective. Additionally, we want to recommend that we hold a single November RCV election, so we want to get rid of primary if you do PRCV. We also know that the turnout in the primaries is substantially low and is not representative of your electorate, which is why we recommend this. If you decide that you don't want to go with PRCV, we strongly recommend you pursue single winner RCV, because that is much better than the contingent runoff system that you have. And it will provide an update or an upgrade, as we like to call it, from the system you have. Like I said last time, we want you guys to bring experts from New York City to show you the ropes on the voter education implementation aspect. We want experts from Portland to come talk to you about the governance aspect of running PRCV elections. And additionally, we believe that we should lower the voting age to 16 because these young folks are the ones that are going to be dealing with the issues that we're currently having in our city.
Thank you so much, Chris. 1 or 2 minutes. Alrighty, and go. Hello, Commissioners. I'm Chris Marion, and I'm here to support council expansion, multi-member districts, and the election of council members with ranked choice voting. Using proportional ranked choice voting with 3 seat districts will improve representation of minorities, reduce election costs, and make it much easier to draw fair district maps. The difficulties with redistricting are one of the main reasons we are here today, and multi-member districts are much less sensitive to gerrymandering. While there will be some upfront costs associated with the transition, the long-term costs associated with removing primaries will be significant for election administration, public matching funds, and the candidates themselves. Portland has dealt with this exact situation, and their implementation expertise should be heard here. I strongly encourage this committee to invite experts from the cities that use ranked choice voting to alleviate fears associated with such change. My favorite part of ranked choice voting is that the voters get to vote the candidates that they support the most instead of gaming out how other people vote. And I think the positive effects on the election dynamics have been borne out across the country. Thank you, Commissioners, for your consideration. Thank you so much, and one please. 1 or 2 minutes? 2 minutes, and go.
So I'm here today on my birthday. And todavía soy joven en espíritu. And the reason that I'm young in spirit still is when there are paradigm shift moments before us, that gets me really excited. And the debate that Los Angeles needs to have on improving how it handles the city council elections is in your hands. Your committee here, and then ultimately the commission, can put ideas forward that the whole city needs to do. And what the council is gonna do, how the community is gonna react, we don't know. But we know that you're not gonna have a chance to react unless you move forward both the ridiculous contingent runoff system that LA uses, where you have lower turnout, less diverse primaries, actually making key decision of either about who gets elected or who moves forward. That is insane in a city that is as cool and diverse as LA. And then the question, as we've been talking about for months, about single seat districts versus multi-seat districts, that debate has to happen. So if you recommend to the larger commission, for commissions, and then they at least put forward to the community after January, this is one of the things we really have to study, then it's gonna start getting the exposure that the debate needs. Other thing I'll add is when I ran for Secretary of State in 2018, 16-year-old right to vote was my platform then. I followed it forward, and I hope that you support that as well. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, and now we'll go to Mr. Public comment on a virtual.
If you'd like to give remote public comment, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature. Our first speaker is gonna be Chris. How much time would you like?
3 minutes, please.
All right, 1 second, Chris, we're gonna get the audio fixed on our end.
Okay, I'll wait. Just let me know when to start.
Thank you so much for your patience. All right, Chris, 2 minutes starting now.
Right now, we elect our leaders through plurality voting, a system that consistently fails to reflect who we are as a city. When communities are split across districts, their votes are effectively wasted, and the result is predictable. Communities of color and other minorities are chronically represented. This isn't an accident. It's built into the structure of plurality elections. Plurality voting also fuels vote splitting, which pressures people to vote against the candidates they believe in and instead choose the one they think can win. That dynamic discourages participation and silences new voices before they ever reach the ballot. And perhaps most damaging, plurality elections intensify polarization. At a moment when democracy and basic decency feel under threat, we are relying on a system that actively discourages coalition building, the very thing our city needs most. There is a better way. Proportional ranked choice voting, also known as single transferable voting, has been used around the world to solve exactly these problems. In multi-seat districts, it produces proportional outcomes. It ensures that if a community makes up 20% of a district, it has a real chance at 20% representation. PRRCV is also adaptable. The council can choose district sizes that balance neighborhood identity with true proportionality. This isn't an untested experiment. There is decades of proven guidance on ballot design, counting, auditing, and voter education, with a thoughtful rollout, including pilots and multilingual outreach implementation. It is entirely feasible, and the democratic benefits are immense. Expanding the city council is a once-in-a-generation opportunity, but if we expand without changing the voting method, we will simply magnify the failures of plurality elections. This is our chance to build a more representative, collaborative, and genuinely democratic city. Let's not miss it.
Chris. Our next speaker is gonna be Rob. How much time would you like?
Rob Kwan, 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes starting now.
I want to just start by saying I'm grateful that we have remote public comment. I've got to take my dog to the vet this afternoon and I couldn't join otherwise. On the issue of voting age, I do find it funny that we get basically zero research from the staff on this issue. Might be nice for our commissioners to be reminded that Oakland and Berkeley recently lowered the voting age for their school board elections and that LAUSD even studied it recently. My take is the youth are inheriting a god-awful world from us, and the least we can do is give them some semblance of a voice and control over their own destiny. Also, voting is largely a habit, and I think we're better off fostering that at 16 when people are still at home in the communities they have some familiarity with. My first vote was for Howard Dean. I turned 18 just before the 2004 presidential primary, and it was really helpful to have my parents around to make sure I knew how to vote, offer to take my ballot to the polls, and nag me for waiting until the last minute to vote after I insisted on taking it myself. There is a claim in here that the youth could lack the ability and motivation to participate effectively in the electoral process. And I'd say, yeah, I mean, that might apply to a large chunk of voters and people in this country. That could also be said for a bunch of elderly voters. So if we're going to get really condescending, maybe we should cut off voting eligibility at the age of 85. On the issue of the public advocate, I think it's important to note why this was born in New York City. They were concerned about enlarging the council and how that would give the mayor more power. And they wanted to ensure there were some sort of checks and balances, not just for the mayor, but the council president. And on the Fed tapes, what did we hear? A lot of people are forgetting about this. We heard a tyrannical council president, and you know what? She wasn't that unique. That is the position. The position is corrupting itself. And we need to keep that in mind. This is something where New York City, the main reason we see opposition there is NYPD hates having anybody there to call them out.
Next speaker is gonna be Renee. Renee, how much time would you like?
I'll take 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes starting now.
You've heard a lot of really good comments already about the effects of RCV and how it could really benefit Los Angeles. So going a little bit past that, I'd like to offer something a little bit different in the reasoning why we need to enact this, which is that LA County prints the ballots for many more municipalities than just Los Angeles. So while this is important for Los Angeles to have, it's also important to remember that without implementing this, our voter equipment doesn't have any way for any of these other municipalities to choose whether they want that for themselves. Um, I know that Redondo Beach recently got ranked choice voting enacted in their elections. They had to set up their own infrastructure to tabulate those votes themselves. This may or may not be feasible for all of the different municipalities that are in Los Angeles County, but it is something that many cities are exploring and are interested in. I've heard from many people across these cities asking for it. So just putting out another thing to consider, of course, all of the benefits to Los Angeles and everything, and that's what the focus of this meeting should be about. But it's also important to remember the effect that we have on other cities throughout this county. And if we don't enact this and we don't give any of those cities the ability to do that for themselves, we are essentially bottlenecking their own power. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is gonna be Bella. How much time would you like?
Yes, thank you very much. I guess 2 minutes or 3 minutes, somewhere about.
All right, 2 minutes starting now.
Thank you very much, commissioners. This is my first time meeting you. Most of the beginning audio was not audible, want you to know. I am Bella DeSoto here in LA County, taking care of my mom. She's over 96 now. I mentioned that it just has a backdrop. I want to speak. I was not able to go over your agenda to the actual points you're trying to move about, but I want to support ranked choice voting, which California, which Los Angeles has fallen behind. It should have been at the forefront in adopting this voting system, which is truly democratic at all fronts. Further, I want you to consider to do some research on the top 2 primaries amendment that was proposed with Proposition 14 in 2010. The voters were not educated on this proposition, and it was held in June state elections of 2010. This was actually a constitutional amendment that effectively transformed California non-presidential elections from first past the post to a nonpartisan blanket primary, which is a 2-round system. The reason why I mention this is because I am a socialist and I am registered with the Peace and Freedom Party of California, the only socialist electoral party since 1967. However, we socialists, we do not have too many choices because of such amendments, because of such unilateral decisions to make it even more difficult for third parties to enter the election frame. May I have?
Our next speaker is gonna be Isaac. How much time would you like?
Hi, just a minute would be great. Thank you.
1 minute starting now.
Hi, and thank you to to all the commissioners who are here and doing this important work. I know there's been a lot of comments in favor of ranked choice voting, so I won't go on for too long, but I'm in favor of ranked choice voting because it ultimately allows voters to choose the candidate that they want rather than who they think will win and vote strategically, which I don't think is effective for real civic engagement and democracy. I'm also in favor of 3-member districts with the proportional ranked choice voting because each representative will more accurately reflect what their district wants. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is gonna be Atticus. How much time would
Yeah.
you like?
Can I get 2 minutes?
Yes, 2 minutes starting now.
Okay, so I just want to say I agree with the previous speaker that said this is kind of a paradigm shift. I'm an EMT. I've been an EMT for 6 years. I've worked in LA County. I've worked for for Lifeline Ambulance. And, I think with ranked choice voting, just as we saw in New York City, these are really, really paramount changes that we can ask ourselves, how do we want to help people and how do we want to represent them? Right now, the Trump administration is taking on Medicare, it's taking on Medicaid, and it's slashing these funds. And the thing is, we're the fourth largest economy in the world in California. The real question is, why aren't we driving our proportional representation and our tax dollars to basically fund these programs that we know represent who we are as a state? And I'm in great favor of proportional ranked choice voting, and I really urge you guys to consider this. I mean, just from working on the streets of Los Angeles, I think a lot of the mental health care crisis is really convoluted and it takes a multi-factored approach. I mean, it takes housing, it takes mental health awareness, it takes basically making sure that people are getting the education they need, the housing that they need. And if we can actually expand on that in California, we're going to become the greatest economy in this country. And I think progressive ranked choice voting is the way that we do that. I yield my time.
Thank you. And the last speaker is Aaron. Aaron, how much time would you like?
Hi there. 2 minutes should be fine, probably less.
All right, 2 minutes starting now.
All right, thank you so much. Hello, I'm Arnd Peter Castelline. I'm a resident of downtown Los Angeles, and I'm also the LA chapter chair for the Equal Vote Coalition, where we primarily advocate for a voting reform called star voting. Thank you so much for hearing from us, and I'm especially grateful today that you're now offering remote public comment. We had submitted written comment on the November 12th meeting with our recommendation to expand the council to at least 21 members using single member districts with star voting. This will be an important step to make electeds more accountable to their voters and to ensure that more communities are properly represented in the council. Unlike other voting methods, under star voting, candidates are incentivized to represent their entire district. In a competitive star voting election, candidates will need 5s from their base as well as 1s, 2s, and 3s across the board in order to be one of the frontrunners. And as a voter, if your faction doesn't make it to star's automatic runoff, your vote still gets counted towards your backup option. This gives minority populations in the district leverage over their elected officials that they wouldn't have under the other single member methods, and all without needing to add the complexity of multi-member districts. Again, I support increasing the council size and redrawing districts to help ensure all groups are represented, and star voting is your best option to maximize the representation gained from those reforms. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and that concludes remote public comment.
We miss anyone in the audience? Yeah, there you go. Yep, anyone, if there's anyone else, yes, feel free.
Please go for session. Thanks so much. Sorry, thank you.
1 or 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
Okay. The camera will get, we were turned on, no worries. Alright, go
Hello, Commissioners, and thank you for being here. My name is Elijah Altman from California Native and a resident of District 2.
a little closer to the window. Thank you so much.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
I'm also a member of the Raise Our LA campaign, and I'm here to understand what is going on. So I empathize that council on what we want our decisions to be. I'm here for the first time today to echo the need to expand the city council, rebalance the power of the city council and the mayor, and to call for ranked choice voting. I'm also here because I tried to listen to this meeting yesterday, and the echo in this room made the conversation vastly unintelligible. I'm lucky that I can get on a train in the middle of the day and come down here to listen, but I maybe not. And so I'm hoping that we can improve the technological component of this a little bit. I would love the rest of the time. So let's move on to me.
Thank you so much. And last, Nick. One or 2 minutes.
I will do 2 minutes if I can.
Alrighty, and you.
Thank you very much, Commissioners, for having me here. I do appreciate it very, very much. My name is David Spoon. I'm the founder of Livable Advanced LA, and I work a lot with this commission. And things that I would like to simply say to advocate to expand the city council to 29 members. most city council members, when they think about the kind of council they would be relatively expansive, they think in 20, so we should probably get the most amount of form we can get for our efforts. And I also believe that we should automatically resize the council at every census to the lowest odd number, where no council member has less than 135,000 constituents. This has an automatic kind of safeguard built into it, so when our city grows, we have more representation automatically for that, and if council really catastrophically fails and the city starts to shrink, they're forced to work together as it has been possibly doing other jobs. One of the things we can also do easily to encourage more civic participation and representation is also have ranked choice voting throughout for all city elections. And additionally, I would also like to bring up the idea of a automatic charter reform commission, mandatory every 10 years at maximum, ideally every 5 years. That was originally on for every 20 years. Councilman City Officers want to go every 10 years, and then Ted Stein was the one that told me to consider every 5 years. So it would appear to be the most, people who would be the most conservative would be the ones that push it more reform factor. So I'm like, let's go every 5 years. And percentages. But the biggest things I would advocate for are expanding city council size to 29 members, and that's not just because we get more representation, but because we get smaller geographic boundaries. Downtown Los Angeles can finally be its own independent council district. Watts would be its own council district, Hollywood would be its own independent council district, and we have council members that are not just really in their word, but also specialists for the communities they're representing. That's pretty much all I have for this one, so thank you very much, Steve. Thank you.
Perfect, that's. And, Mr. Chair, that concludes public comment, for this one.
Thank you. Now, if there are any members of council in the room that have approved community impact statements, please feel free to raise your hand up. Or stand person. Seeing none, we will move on to item number 1 on our agenda. Discussion relative to potential government structure, related charter amendments, including but not limited to issues related to current city charter provision and related policies, city council expansion, city executives, city attorney, election and voting, and possible action regarding the related report back requests and related that. So the way it's gonna work, we're first gonna have staff introduce a little bit about what's changed, and then we're going to treat for the most part, we got a road work. We're gonna treat the proposed reforms, people contents as our roadmap for how this meeting will progress today. So yeah, you go ahead and do a overview first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Great to be with you for this exciting step of the committee and the commission as a whole. We did this last night for the first time with the infrastructure and planning committee, and it went pretty well. It was a great discussion, and they took those and moved things forward, and we're looking forward to that process as well. In front of you today is, and posted on the website as well, is the updated staff report that was basically feedback we took from last week's committee meeting. And you'll see highlighted the additions that were made to the staff report. And as well, we did go through and find additional opportunities to broaden out some citations as well. So this was basically those were the 2 big requests. We did do we also did a round of touches with all of those who contributed their presentations and their reports along the admission process. Touch base with groups and departments, and just ask them one last time, is there any feedback, any changes, and some of those changes are reflected in this report as well. I will say, and I said this last night at the committee as well, that the votes that this committee will be taking today, by no means I will be blocking in perpetuity direction. This will help, the votes taken today will help for us, the staff, to be able to further research, further dive deep into the subject matter and start looking at charter sections. We'll be pulling in additional staff throughout the city departments. For example, we can change you know, if you change one piece of the puzzle, it affects a lot of other pieces of the puzzle, which is the city charter, so, we'll need a lot of hands to help us with that, so looking forward to that, but, you know, the examples that I've given is if you know, move forward with A and B, but don't want to do C, we'll delve into A and B, but you know, later you can come back and like, oh, B was not a good idea, we really wanted to do C, or the commission. As a whole could say, we really want to move forward with looking at C and vice versa. So there is time to learn, iterate, adapt, hear additionally from the public on, you know, what their thoughts are on how you take these votes as well, and that will socialize and we'll hear back from people on those votes. I'll just keep on going from there, but by no means is this the final vote, the final decision. That this is just really giving staff that the votes to move things forward, when it comes to research that we can focus, and you know, both things that don't need focusing. And I'll go from there.
Thank you. Right, so we're gonna start with the city council expansion. I'm starting with the big controversial thing first. We have a couple of options. The first is to increase the number of single member districts. The second is to increase the number of multi-member districts. And then within each of those options, we have sub options, and in this case, it's different county sizes. So I know that the staff talked a lot about this last week, so I'm gonna ask them to explain and litigate that. But if you have questions, commissioners, feel free to chime in, 'cause I know that there have been amendments in addition to these sections. But I guess we can start with single member districts, and we could either decide on the number, or we could figure out which number makes sense and which don't in this current setting, but I'll leave it to my fellow commissioners to see if they have outline thoughts. I have a thought. I think that the 31, especially 53 members, is probably pretty easy to dispose of those right now, but definitely three. Both being pragmatic and then taking into consideration how much of a change that would be from 15, I think is. And other thoughts on the potential options of doing staff to go over, and you can ask that too.
You're in favor of it, Peter?
No, I'm not necessarily in favor of it. I'm okay with crossing it out. But if we have, I think we have a motion. Commissioner Matt,
No, I was also going to say, I was just looking closer at forwards, this alignment of my thoughts.
I agree. Commissioner Mendez.
I agree as well.
Do we want to keep 31 as a responsibility?
I'm happy with 23, 25, or 31.
Okay, so I will put one then.
Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Matt.
I am also good with that.
Okay, do we have a motion then to proceed with option A 2 through 3?
So moved.
Great, seeing no opposition, we will proceed with.
Who's the second? Sorry, I know.
Oh, sorry, do we have a second on that one?
And second, and then can we, is this room for a discussion?
Yeah, we'll talk about discussing that before we have a formal vote.
Yeah. If I can go first, I think I just wanted to voice here and, in the light of the conversation on expansion, I think I just wanna kind of go back to the previous school commission meetings that we had. I think I just wanna raise that we are missing Black voices here, and I know we were looking into that, in terms of school commission, and so I think this is something we should definitely bring back to school commission to have that conversation, and I think, because we're looking at 23, 25, and 31, I think that's a good fit for us to have that conversation with our other commission members. But I think I just wanted to remind us that you know, I think we have great insights here, but we definitely are missing some voices, and I feel like I'm just trying to whether it's bringing community members to talk about Black concerns around city expansion and government structure. I think I just want to voice again that we're missing that in this committee and so far with the presenters.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I think presenting a range, I agree, is probably the best thing to do, because it would give the full body the ability to lock down on a specific number within that range. And I would encourage staff, after we vote on this staff will do additional research, I would like to see how, in a little bit further detail, how each of the different numbers could impact, the racial makeup and the ability for, different communities and interests to let candidates of choice, particularly, community, Asian American, and Black community especially.
Yeah, we'll definitely be sourcing some research on, the potential impacts to, the communities throughout LA. What, I will frankly, or staff would likely not be doing, will be, creating our maps. There are tools, online that, the public, our community groups that certainly, use, and commissioners are welcome to use as well, but we just won't be using, because I don't wanna, I don't want it to be perceived as these are official LAC potential maps. So I think that will interfere with the important work and votes that you're taking. But certainly lots of mapping tools online for people to look at. We'll do some, of course, data, digging on just general demographics, which is nice.
And I also wanted to thank the presenters for Air LA as well as RLA for H9 our report session, lowercase a. If anyone has that up and would like to go to that page, they provided a really great analysis of what the range that we're discussing here today would do and how it would protect neighborhoods of interest. So I'm excited to hear more in terms of from our staff, research that supports that as well.
Absolutely, yeah, and David's, again, to your point, Commissioner, David's so helpful and looking at some of these demographics, and a lot of this caveat is critically there would be some, if numbers get approved by voters, they have to finally go through the independent redistricting commission, which is in the charter. So it's a lot of important demographic, but it's also a lot of guess work that is not, but it is an important part of the process.
Thank you. I second the voice of the full sentiments, will find highlights into their statements. Any additional discussion before you have a roll call? The chair votes in favor, Commissioner Fuentes.
In favor.
Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
So just to clarify, we'll be moving forward A to 3.
Point of order. Would you please restate the motion?
Yes, so the motion was to dispose of, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Matt, but to dispose of, commission, single member district, so section A, options 1, 5, and, 1 and 5, which would be 21 members and 53 members. So we would proceed with reviewing more information on the 23 member council, the 25 member council, and the 31 member.
Sorry.
And, we get rid of, but I guess it also get rid of 6. Wait. Amazing. Now let's move on to section B, multi-member districts. We have a few options here. We have multi-member districts with 3-member districts, and then that's 1 through 3 with different size number of multi-member districts. And then we have option 4, which is 20 single-member districts and 5 overlapping regional maps. Feel free to review that in your documents, and then we can do that discussion and motion or motion then. Any comment?
I think as of right now, where I'm at is I would actually want to learn a little bit more about, I know we talked about this last meeting, but referring back to the California Voting Rights Act, and I would like to hear more about that piece. It's included in this report, but we haven't really had a full discussion around that. And so I think that's where I'm at in terms of multi-member for this section.
I think we can eliminate based off of the council size recommendations that we just gave.
I think that means it would eliminate 5 multi-member districts and the 15 multi-member districts, so that would leave us with options. And it would eliminate no change, it would leave us with options 2 and 4 with further exploration to see the procedural posture and the legal framework. So then
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with that.
Alright, and I will actually make that motion. I motion to move forward with a review of 9 multi-member districts and 20 single-member districts that have 5 overlapping regional members while disposing of options B 1, 3, and 5. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on this, or do you think that conversation?
I think if I can, include a friendly amendment, I think just for 5, I think that's just the section where it talks about the legal, implications around the rule choice second, so I don't wanna completely write that off, but I just wanted to include that. So I feel like that was the section in the staff report that includes the Family Rights Act, that I personally would like to do a deeper dive.
Yeah, fine, I'll accept it. Happy to. Any other discussion? Good catch, actually, appreciate it.
So to be clear, the amendment is to make sure that we look at them. I think I think we would definitely have to look at the California Voting Rights Act when talking about 2 and 4. Anyway, it might impact the number of members that just voted above, so that will be a part of the analysis no matter what.
So, yeah, to clarify, then we'll be going forward with options 2, 4, and 5, and then just further exploring that legal framework that we mentioned. Any additional discussion? Great, then we will now open this to a vote. The chair votes yes, Commissioner Matt,
Yes.
Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Great. I'm right now, too, so I don't know there. Seems like we're already going a lot quicker than yesterday's.
You learned from that.
Absolutely. Great, so we already gotten through city council expansion, we have some numbers and frameworks for everyone. And numbers frameworks, yeah, let's move on to new citywide offices. For this one, let's. Yeah, new citywide offices, we have a few options, and I'll just reiterate it for, committee members while they go through their. Binder, look at this, but the creation of the chief operating officer, the creation of the chief financial officer. Designating the city's controller as the chief financial officer, creation of the new citywide public advocate office. Creation of an office of the tenant advocate, and no change to citywide offices. We can either go down 1 through 7 or repeat ours. As a whole, I think it's probably best to go down 1 through 7 in this instance, since they're actually very different proposals as opposed to the last section. So starting with the creation of the chief operating officer, do we have any thoughts about that?
And if I may, Mr. Chair, I know, at the previous meeting, it was discussed to delve deeper into control some of this, mayoral authorities. So that whatever is decided here, on the, we'll also be doing additional research on that based on the previous, discussion.
Alright, thank you. Anyone want to take this off? If not, I'm happy to control.
Yeah, I'd be in support of this.
I am too. I'm curious to actually see how it fits into my org structure.
Yeah, I think wanted to ask for more clarification around the mayoral authority and adding that in here, would it be a different section, or can I know the more clarification of which is such as?
Yeah, we're gonna add a new section, and some of them will be, looped into these existing ones.
Yeah, and then I would like to guide staff too, and I had said this offline, in our training, but in the future, when you make the new version, really showing how some of these different things fit together. Cause there's a lot of overlap, between us, and the voting elections and the citywide office all overlap together too, so just instead of doing that, I think that will be new information or flagging, how that can interact with other.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds great. I will entertain a motion to proceed forward with, any motion. Do I have any motion out of the way?
So moved.
Great, so this is a motion to have staff proceed with more research on creating chief operating officer. So do I have a second? Great, so for roll call, chair, we have Commissioner Fernandez.
Yes.
Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Next on our list is the creation of a chief financial officer. I'm gonna start by saying that I have asked CAO recommendations on this, and I know that they will not be presenting until better government meeting on December 3rd.
Personnel.
Personnel budget, yeah, will make sense. So seeing that we haven't seen any of their recommendations, I'm okay to move forward with CFO, because I'd like to see that reflected actually in the future before we, consider anything like that, any other discussion.
I support.
Great, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
The chair, or do I have more discussion prior to the vote? Seeing none, the chair votes yes, Commissioner Fernandez
Yes.
and Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
It's very funny to have to vote yes on some of you. Supported, but it's. The next potential amendment is designating the city controller as city's chief financial officer. I'll leave you time to put there as I do it myself, but if you want to check, please do so.
Yeah, I support. And I'd be happy to move that forward since we just moved the last one.
You can go first.
Yeah, I think I just have some initial thoughts. I voiced it in previous committee meetings, but I do think there is value in bringing this conversation to the commission around, I think mainly I want to help their understanding of what we would say the role of the controller is versus the CFO. I think personally, just speaking for myself, I do not have experience working in the city and in C-suite level, and so I think there is value in bringing this conversation to the commission, so I know we do have that broader experience there. And then also just generally want to see more research in the delineation between the two roles. Because just from what we've heard from presenters so far, and my understanding is that these two roles usually typically work in tandem with each other and supplement each other, and so I would just want to do more research on that.
I agree, I'm actually interested in seeing more research on how this looks and potential amendments, but since we have moved forward the office of the CFO, and this is meant for that, I'm happy to second Commissioner Fuentes' motion, and hopefully we see some of that more context in the large body. Point us in the right direction there.
Yeah, and then a question for staff, in terms of the discussion that we're having here today, and kind of the stuff that we're going to move forward, is our discussion also going to be captured in that for the full commission?
Yeah, so we're mainly taking like, your emotions, and using those to move things forward. For example, if you move forward with, it looks like 2 and 3, if those are moving forward, they are dissimilar, but you'll be presented with, at bare minimum, those 2 options, and then hybrids, different examples of how cities across the country do it and how that would look here in LA. So I think by moving those both forward, you'll have, a good spectrum of options.
Yeah, really great. Just wanted to make sure all of our concerns and questions are captured so that we can move it forward to.
We definitely also go back and listen to the she's
Okay.
what did she, we caught ourselves, a couple times making sure, especially, going through last night's, where you triple checking, we're capturing, the discussion and, the intent, if you will, the legislative intent, from these switches.
Great.
Great, anything else prior to the city vote? Seeing nothing else, the chair votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Matt, yes, great. Our next is number 4, which is the creation of a new citywide elected office, which would be the office of advocate. Since it's new, I'll give, not new to us, since it's a new role, I'll give our team a little bit of time to review that section. And then if you have any comments in the meantime.
Yeah, I think just given the amount that the themes of corruption have come up, as well as oversight in all our commission meetings, all our committee meetings as well, this would make sense to bring back to our full commission for discussion at the very least. So I'm fully in support of moving this forward.
I think.
Sorry, just, Alex is just, saying that, this full report is definitely gonna go to the full commission anyway. Just parts of this report will also have your recommendations as well, and by the time we get to the, that commission meeting, we'll have some additional research on the things that people are recommending, but likely not on the things that necessarily, we're not gonna, dive deep into 53 members unless at the commission level, they ask us to then go dive deep.
Yeah, and I'll restate that, I support this.
Okay, and I think that with staff's comments in mind, and with our elevated timeline and how much. We're probably going to be asking to get changed in the charter, I'm not personally a fan of advancing. This as an option, at least in our community, obviously, someone is better over and bring it back, they disagree, but. That's not where I am right now, but I was going to, Commissioner Matt, before we do that, do you have any feedback?
Yeah, I think I'm always on the end of, exploring ways for there to be more multiplication with city government, so actually, I'm always interested in conversation around, increasing multiplication with city government, so I think for that reason, I would be interested in hearing a little bit more, and so would be in support of these.
Alright, do I have a motion now?
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, Commissioner Whitehead,
Yes.
Commissioner Matt,
Yes.
and the chair, I vote no, but so move forward, so staff, please send some more information about that. We move in now to the creation of the office of the tenant advocate, and I'll start with that actually, and I totally understand the great sentiments about the public advocate, but I think. The tenant advocate is something that I can separate in ordinance, because there are other citywide elected offices that are current ordinance. So I'm not necessarily sure that this is something that our commission, especially our committee, should be taking up as a charter level office. And there's already an office of housing, which is a housing office that exists. So I'm not sure how this would fit into it. Yeah, those are my takeaways before we have the motion, but does anyone else have any outlines?
I have similar thought process to you, Commissioner Angeles, and I think, I also just noting that there is a possible pathway to have a discussion that is non-charter related.
Commissioner Thompson.
Yeah, I understand what my fellow commissioners are saying, but I don't think this will happen outside of the charter process. So I still support this.
Okay, I think that's fair. I'm gonna start with a motion to dispose of it, but with the understanding that this line item still gets sent in the full memo, that it won't be edited and amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Right, we're gonna start off with a vote, Commissioner Andrade votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes,
No.
and Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
And then, I guess you have to talk about no change too. Obviously, it sounds like we're recommending a few changes. It don't, yeah, so yeah. Yeah, so there will be hopefully some changes after this.
I think it's like, for example, when you get to a section and you see nothing that you like, you can just go straight to no change.
Great, we're now going to C, which is current citywide offices, office of the city attorney. I guess we can work our way down this list too, unless nobody has any other ideas, but these roles are actually kind of similar, they're not totally dissimilar, they exist in tandem in the current form, feel free to shift there in your memo, we are on page 25, and we can start with any discussion on C as a whole, actually.
I actually have a question on updates from, I know last meeting we had an option to seek city approval or council approval, to look into a external attorney for this section. So one, I think one is update on that, and then two, has this section been reviewed by anyone else yet in the meantime?
Thank you. Yeah, so, I guess I forwarded, that motion to the city council president's office. They have a busy, from what I heard, end of the week, they are, because they are on recess this week next. So, we briefed the city council president's office this week, on it. On the staff side, but, you know, we don't expect to have, any further update until council comes back after the Thanksgiving, but they are aware of it, they have a motion. And, they will hopefully have an update for us after the Thanksgiving, break about when that's gonna be. And what was the second part of your question? Sorry. Oh, sorry. Has any, no one else has reviewed this section, since, we met last week. I think made a couple of citation corrections and everything. We haven't, other outside or inside council, review this section.
Great. I think with that in mind, I'm happy to encourage you to push all of this forward and wait until we get back to city council to talk about it at our next meeting. So I'll motion, to move forward just with items as a whole for the time being. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great. The chair was in favor of this, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Sorry, and then Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Great. So I'm looking forward to seeing more on this option. Now we're gonna move into city controller. I think we'll treat this similar to the attorney section where we talk about it as a whole, but if any of my fellow commissioners want to hone in on specific items, we can do that and we can vote on those separately, but as a whole, we have takeaways and I'll introduce the motions. And then this is pages 20, 29, or 30, sorry.
I support moving it all forward. One of your
Yes. I am supporting more information. I do think that option 4 in particular, I actually want to shift to the attorney section, the city attorney section, because I know that section would create the office of legislative council. And I wanted to circle this controller hire outside of council and hire to the hire outside of council. I think in my mind, it's better to have a discussion about whether or not there should be the ability for outside counsel in general that occurs in the city attorney section as opposed to multiple sections repeated at both city controller and election voting and then city attorney. I think it's better with house in the same place. So I support that, but parsing out one in my grade.
And then would we need to redo the last question on? Or no?
I don't think motion on that. Well,
I guess
the motions include.
They are a little different, in that, you know, whereas section in C, there's nothing really about side of council.
Okay.
Whereas, I believe what the city controller was asking for is specifically outside council, which is different from section C, which are different versions of lawyers within the city. Outside council means hiring Smith and Smith that work, you know, in Century City or downtown, which isn't really might be considered some more research in section C, but it is still, there is a difference in what we're hearing from city law.
So in this section, would we,
Yes,
motion, or could we request that you add an outside council option in section C that also overviews city controller, but other offices like different agencies?
I mean, the thing to think about here is. If you make, you know, an appointed city attorney or bifurcate it. So, you know, you have a in-house, you know, city attorney not elected, right? Where the perception of bias is removed, departments need to hire outside counsel, yeah.
Okay, so it does exist implicitly, so you can explicitly write that. I still think that having that specific piece in the city controller section is needed.
I mean, there is a section in the charter where, you can get outside counsel now, so I think it would be. You wanna look at that section.
Yeah, I'm like, yes, but the report literally states the other.
Yes. You can,
Yeah.
but you have to go through one of two options.
Yes, what I'm saying is, if you're looking for ways for departments to, make it easier for them to utilize outside counsel, I guess it would make more sense to be looking at that charter section on outside counsel. And how to reform that, because there is a provision in the charter now to get outside counsel.
Okay. This is all really good discussion, which will inform our research.
I think that it will, yeah. Commissioner Mack, do you have any feedback or any thoughts before I do that?
I think the only thing that flagged me in this section was also looking at number 4. I think I just wanted more clarity around the situation around controller and city attorney. I think similarly, questions that you're raising, I'm also curious.
Okay, Commissioner Fine, before I make a motion, I think that I'm in favor of at least directing staff to migrate that section, that option 4 to the city attorney section. And to expand not just on the controllers supposed need for outside counsel, but other agencies that might express that, and specifically looking at the charter provision that allows outside counsel in specific sessions. Any feedback on that before I make a motion?
Yeah, and just because this is the one that's starting the fellow commissioners as well, and we can have a case study, like I asked for last time, about this specifically, allowing the controllers.
We're able to research from that contact.
No worries at all, but by the time it goes back to the.
Yeah.
And I think that would be so helpful in this conversation here.
Absolutely.
I think with all that in mind, and it's totally on CAO's recommendations and like facsimilies, I'm happy to motion actually to move forward with but with the condition that the ability to hire outside counsel is migrated to the city attorney's office. That there is more information about that, including, Commissioner Fuentes asked for, and then also if any other agency express similar issues with that provision of the charter.
And support that.
Great, we have a motion second, we'll go into vote, the chair votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes,
Yes.
and then Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Great. That sounds good. And then Brad, what you do voting actually? We will go through.
Just to clarify, so we approve, we're moving forward with everything in section B. With that one.
With 4 getting migrated elsewhere, yes. For further research, and then obviously the full commission or committee can parse that down, but I'm still waiting some of that together. See why it's great. Get rid of that commissioner. Good. So yeah, for elections and voting, since these are similar again, similar, we can move through 1, 2, 3, 4 at the same time. I will further research your recommendation. 1, 4, 5. Okay, so as I'm talking about ranked choice voting, and this would be ranked choice voting as it pertains to single member districts, because we have multiple member and single member options that are moving forward as a reminder. And I kind of actually, even though these are election voting, moving this up and varying it with the specific sections like election voting, ranked voting as it affects single member districts. Proportional small member districts, moving the section up, so it's.
There's a lot of cross.
These are, they're very similar. But yeah, let's start with ranked choice voting, which is page 35. I was talking, so anybody who wants to talk.
So I would like to dive deeper into mentions voting and PRCV. Specifically, some of our presenters have shared that we should, do more research in terms of the implementation of RCV, so cities have already implemented it. I'll be interested in seeing that as number one, as something we continue to move forward with. But also two, we mentioned in previous meetings, I would like for us to try to reach out to the LA County Registrar Recorder Office and talk to Dean Logan, because they will ultimately be the ones that are part of the implementation process that we were to do this. And so we've heard from discussion with presenters that Dean Logan is on board with it, but I would like to hear from him and have kind of him share his insights. I think there are value to that and making this a full commission conversation.
Yeah, and I agree, even if we can't, schedule it in to give a presentation, I think if we can request a letter from, or if the city doesn't include any of these, the county, it could help guide and then at the end have you, that would be helpful.
I imagine if you move forward with this, we'll look at Redondo Beach, who's the, our closest neighbor that just won this. And of course, Portland and San Francisco, etc.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Fontes, do you have any thoughts for you?
I'd like to move forward with 1, 2, 4, and then move 5, as you suggest.
Alright. Yeah, and I agree with that. Is that a formal motion then?
Yes.
Okay, good. Do you have a second on that? Okay. We actually can discuss it, and I just want to take this time to mention that we supposed to start voting. Well, I really appreciate all of our advocates for the time to spoke about this. I do think that since it's so untested, LA's a big city that's where early changes, and I don't think this is the time to treat LA as a test grounds for a national change with a different voting type. But as a reminder, this commission will meet again in a couple of years in the next decade. So feel free to bring it back in the future. Any other discussion before we go into the vote on this motion? Alright. Let's go to the vote. The chair votes yes. Commissioner Fontes.
Yes.
Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, you have that.
Yeah, do we get a second? No, who's the second?
Oh, who's the second?
I see.
Oh, she, yeah, good job. Yeah, okay, okay.
I wasn't sure about that. Alright, perfect, thank you.
Great. Now we'll get into section now. If there's anything possibly schedule.
I guess, I'm sorry, I think there are two not you're gonna change for that technically, so it's either amend or.
Well, yeah, it's only one option.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess we should change.
So yeah, this is amend the city council meeting schedule or turn them change option that is implicit here. There's no multiple options, I'm okay with that being an implicit or change. Any discussion on amending the city council meeting schedule before we have a formal vote? I'll start off actually by mentioning that controversial, right? Because they would have to fit more stuff into less days, but I'm fine with giving city council more purview over their agenda without requiring them to make a specific number of days in charter in general. Obviously, I think there should be baseline minimums and things. But even though they need 3 days to right now, the Friday meetings are typically presentation, it's not like a full.
And since you've already directed us to mayoral authorities, if you direct us to look at this, there's a lot of overlap if if we're looking at expanding their authorities. Some of the work that the city council does at their 3 meetings, and if they meet less, will have to be shifted. And we'll look at research and shifting some of those authorities to the mayor's office, to the departments or commissions, etc. That would enable council to have that change in the meeting schedule and work still begins.
And if we amended the meetings, they're only have to research this more, but that was still, there's more time for meetings, to me, they now be larger, if they're larger. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
there's multiple ways of doing it, I mean, basically you could just, instead of requiring three, require, you know. One and. Like, it could get to the discretion of like the council president, right, to set the schedule, and then, you know, this is one that dovetails into mayoral powers, as Justin mentioned, because for example, we could. Look at things that like. You know, right now, budget items. You know, they're appropriated in the budget, but actually like move that into accounts that have to go through council, so we like change the. You know, threshold for that. You know, also for like housing projects that have to go, you know, so there's. There's ways that we could look at streamlining like the volume of stuff that has to go to council, which would.
Yeah, and I'm definitely in this community before that, I'm interested to see that, especially, I know some advocates have talked about. Some items on the agenda, if council doesn't put them on the agenda and vote on them, it's considered an odd act, you know, proposal. So I think, Eric, can you do some, if it was forward, do some more research on like those things, and just what you had mentioned, like. Ways that we could alleviate the amount of work council does and shift it to a different body, whether it's a bureaucrat or a mayor or elected.
Yeah, definitely, yeah, we have to do a lot of work on this one, just to both look at, you know, the ramifications. You know, in other places in the charter and how things are approved and, yeah, also like the volume stuff.
Do you mind fellow commissioners any thoughts before we information?
Before we go into board. I had a couple of officers, yes, before we go into that, I think also would be interested in getting more research on it, I think something that is in the report that stood out to me is, the idea and. Would like staff to look into this more of further like was that, perhaps looking into the reduction be tied to expanding city council, to kind of. Have a conversation around increased representation in Northwest part of the constituent, I would be interested in learning more about what that would look like.
Sorry, could you repeat that one time?
Yeah, I think just I'm referring in the second part, in section F, under issue, the first bullet point, I would be interested in kind of. Looking towards that and what that could look like, if that's feasible, or an option that we can have.
So, I mean, looking at the meeting schedule. In terms of expanding council, so expand X number than how many council days you need. Cause that was their thing, right, it's you, I think their comment was. You know, if you make more members, you have more representation, so it's easier to have less council
And
days.
yeah, I think that tying the amending city council with the conversation around expansion, I think once we hear more and see what is possible with that.
Yeah.
So I think for that, just to clarify, then I would be interested before to get more research.
Yeah, I think, you know. If we're looking at cities with really large councils like New York or Chicago, their councils tend to be less, so there sort of is a. You know, relationship between council size and how often they meet, it seems like.
And we could do a deeper dive on that, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, none, I think what we're hearing is a lot of these decisions, even though they're separate boxes and letters, none of them are in a vacuum. There are so many, there's so many interconnectivity and nervous system of all this. Yeah. Mission one, we.
No, I'm happy to move this forward.
Alright, the motion,
That is the motion.
you might have a second.
Second.
Okay, great, on this one, the chair, or do we have any further discussion? Okay,
Oh, yes, I just wanted to appreciate Commissioner Mack's comment, and I do agree with this as well.
actually, I second that, fully agree with Commissioner Maxwell, so I appreciate, vote to that. Now, we can move into the vote, the chair, votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
And Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Great.
Warp speed, yes.
But, okay, yes, but also I feel like the fact at 15, we all put so much time and we had such a good discussion last time about this important team, so feel well proud. I can speak for the commissioners.
Yeah, we had some meetings and all these, and we had really good presentation to prepare us. But now moving into, section G, which is expanding eligibility and appointment authorities for commissioners. And there's a new section actually here we had this in last time, which is expanding the voting electorate for the city and LA city elections. So since we haven't seen that entire section before, I'd love it if staff could just explain, a little bit about it.
Sure, yeah, because this was awesome, we've heard some public comment.
Yes.
Out there, and some of the, we do a deeper dive, what we have, I believe, in here was basically just what was brought to us by RLA, so we haven't done more, outreach or, more, research into it, but and there are cities that are exemplifying this and lowering the age for voting on these specific races, obviously, we wanted there to be impacts on the ballot, and again, I think back to Commissioner Max talking about, outreach with, Dean Logan, and, the registrar, if you have a ballot for 16-year-old, they can't vote on the same things that their parent is voting on as a federal, for example, so they can't vote for their Congress member, but they so we do a lot of research on that as well. So what we have here is just like this Los Angeles.
Yes, so I think, yeah, for this section, we're gonna go 1 through 5 by itself, but I mean, we want to do together, we'll start with 1 by itself. Do you have any top line employees from other commissioners about lowering voting age and expanding the electorate for city and LAUSD elections?
I think generally just want to see more, kind of like Justin was saying, would like to see more research on this.
Yeah,
It'll play out, yeah.
I think that's fair. I'm interested in more research with that. I guess for at least the people voting age, I'm not necessarily in favor of that. At the current moment. I haven't seen many advocates even talk about that besides RLA in the presentations, it wasn't top line. So I'm open to going either way, but happy to do more research on this, but Commissioner Fuentes, do you have any?
Yeah, I'm fully in support of this. I'd also say if we're gonna get more research on it in general, besides what RLA has provided, I think coming up with a few other issues for this section. Would be helpful.
Yeah, that's true, and I think for the issue of non-citizen parents in particular, if at college, actually, it's California court case about that, or a Supreme Court case about that, then I know other city licenses sort of included that, and it's being litigated or recently got disposed of, so I'm actually happy to get more information, so we can see some procedural posture and more information about this before we decide to dispense or go forward with this.
And I think a clarification on my end, like for this piece of expanding the voting rights, right, for city and LAUSD, like does it have to be city and LAUSD together, have to be identical, or could it look different for both? Like city versus LAUSD.
That's a good question, I would have an answer for.
And so I think for that reason, I would like to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna motion on this, I'm gonna motion for further research, but not necessarily for committee approval, because I think that's premature, so when you send this full document. We write a motion this way, as Jermaine, but when you send this full document to the commission, I don't want it to look like. Our committee is fully in support of this, just that we're asking for more information before we make a decision.
So, if I'm hearing you, it's a motion for more research, but, not support,
Yes, and not non-support either. It's a motion for more research and will extension of support. Do I have a second?
Second.
Great, we have further discussion. Okay, we can start with a vote now, the chair votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
And Commissioner Knapp.
Yes.
I guess we can talk about, in this section. In this section, we can talk about items. Youth participation. In commissions and allowing non-citizens and non-registered participants to go to commission together, but we can decide if the motion actually doesn't do that. But basically, the staff report, and I'll start off by giving some feedback for you looking. But the staff report actually says that the only charter commissions right now are Board of Public Works. Among a couple of others that are really big commissions, like technically our commission's not even chartered, which is, you know, different discussion for a different day, but a lot of the commissions that we're thinking about when it relates to expanding the electorate, that means that we be allowing, you know, potentially high schoolers, but to join the Board of Public Works, which is a 40-hour-a-week job.
They will, the commission is on that purpose.
Yes, okay. So I think that's definitely something to think about right now. If we move this forward, but do you have any other feedback from? Because a lot of, since the other commissioners are an ordinance, this could be an ordinance level.
So, city charter, any,
Just a point of clarification on that, for the city attorney's office. There is a charter provision that says charter committee commissions, members of those commissions have to be registered voters.
Alright.
So teams and whatnot. That also applies, I believe, to commissions that govern certain types of departments. So a charter change will be required if you want to proceed with changing that requirement for more than just the commissions in the charter, but also commissions that are approved by ordinance, if they fall within.
If they fall within those.
That's right, it's not.
That's helpful. Anything from my fellow commissioners?
Yeah, based on that, I would still want to put this forward.
Okay, both or just one?
and my option would be by the city attorney, agrees with this language, maybe, to, look at language that would, affect non-charter. If you want to write this on non-charter commissions as opposed to charter.
Yeah, and he actually, in a list, you know, what commissions would be affected in what particular way, like what are, I would a list of chartered versus non-chartered commissions, and then commissions that oversee departments. I think would be helpful. Commissioner Matt, how do you think for?
I think because we're looking already at, this first section of around voting electorate and expanding that, I think we should still look at 213 for that reason of consistency. I think also just overall, where I'm at is, I think these are two huge populations that reside in LA, and so I think it is worth, looking into how, whether or not there's something that we can do for this charter reform.
Yeah, I totally see that, and I think that the whole point of the charter reform commission is to increase representation. At least to look at areas that make sense and it's practical to increase representation. Might be, but obviously that might not be the reasons category. But I think with that in mind, and since we're doing it with the other, number one, we actually have a similar, I'll make a similar motion, by staff to give us further research that I'd like to see the list. Not necessarily taking, just probably seem like the TLDR stance either way, but directing staff to get more language before we have, you know, vote either way on this. We have a second, yeah.
I'll take that.
I'll recognize you from everyone. The last one. Any more discussion on this? Great, then we'll go to a roll call again. The chair votes yes, Commissioner Fontaine.
Yes.
Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
Oh, and we have two more. There's not enough, and no change, we'll just. No change, yeah. Okay, so board of changing how commissioners are appointed.
I think I just had a quick question with this one, who will present this report? Just give us some samples, staff report.
I came from the mayor's office, their commission staff.
Okay, so I have a question on this actually. So removing the requirement for boards to hold elections on the last meeting of July, that means that since there's a requirement, the mayor has to make all of those appointments before the election, obviously, right? So it's giving, it's them asking for the timeline to be removed or changed.
Yeah, from my understanding, it's just kind of some adjustments in the timeline to make it easier for the board to function. Because it's a pretty tight timeline in terms of, I guess, when they have to appoint them and that board has to like, you know, approve.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will speak candidly. There was no timeline obviously for the appointment of our commission and the mayor's appointments were delayed relative to other political appointees, so I think if we do move forward with this, I'd like to figure out the staff to recommend some guardrails that we could place on it. Not just, making the timeline altogether, figuring out how to amend it that makes sense. You know, for the mayor's priorities, but also making sure that actually happens. Commissioners have comments on this, or is there a motion?
Are we into the same mess? I agree.
We have a motion first. I mean, last, I'm more than happy. Yeah. Great. I think we did 2 and 3 together. No. Did we?
I was 1 and 2 again. You did 2 and 3 together, you did 1 separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is that 2? Thank you. Okay. But yes, yeah, for 4, we have a motion for 4 then. I'll motion then, I would motion for further research on this one, and not taking a stance either way, same language, basic section, otherwise.
And I mean, all of these are further research, right? We're not improving.
Yes, but this one is, and, stay for research, yes. Do I have a second for that?
Second, I think.
Great. Do we have any further discussion on this? Okay. Great. The chair votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
And Commissioner Arnett.
Yes.
The last section, part of the section is provide authority and power to additional government bodies. Any thoughts on that? Yeah.
I mean, this one might be helpful to kind of go over the charter a little bit too. So, you know, there is a provision now, if the mayor fails to submit an appointment to the council within 45-day period, that it goes to the council president. And then, so there are, you know, we kind of talk about the staff report, basically there are provisions now. Commissioner Fuentes has pointed out the timeline where it goes to other bodies. And then, you know, ordinance created commissions. You know, a lot of them do have provisions where other members would point, like charter commission, for example, so.
Any thoughts? Colleagues, I'm okay with moving this forward, especially because I think it is into the mayor aspect, to expand our mayor, maybe moving. Keeping it, could make sense to me. I think that there's just more context needed about how this fits in with other pieces that are still being developed, so I'm really moving this forward.
I agree with that for me. And I'll second that.
Okay, that was a motion to move this one forward to, in the second from Commissioner Fuentes, we have further discussions of what the strategy. Vote on this.
So research items, well,
Yeah, let's maybe then a research item. With particular research requested about how it fits in when you do your mayoral. Research to go with personal. Right, so the motion is second discussion. Okay, seeing no need for discussion, let's vote. The chair votes yes, Commissioner Fuentes.
Yes.
Commissioner Matt.
Yes.
That was actually really seditious. Expeditious. Well, thank you. Since we did a lot of motion, we don't need to receive and file, well, that currently we do.
no, since you already received the report at a previous meeting, I think we're good on that. I'll just note for the public that the next step on these subjects, other than staff, doing research is that, we tentatively scheduled a meeting on governance structure for the entire commission. I just scrolled past the whole, where is this? Is it January 8th? January, yeah, sorry, okay, January 7th. The charter, the full commission will deliberate on what was discussed today, with additional research from us. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, okay, so just to reiterate for the public, this, all this discussion and stuff, and then we'll not go to our full commission. We'll have deliberations at that body, of which we are all members. And there will be time for them to either proceed directly or bring back to our committee as needed. We'll go from there, so I look forward to seeing you all in January. Do we have, seeing we have nothing else on our agenda, do we have a motion to adjourn today's meeting?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seeing no objection. Yes, okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming. This is the beginning of the.